Good morning. Technically, I have 5 more minutes to say good morning. I'm Sarah. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad that you are too. My famous intro line. And I'm coming to you from Lake Worth. We're getting ready to leave this weekend, and I wanted to pop in and share and relay some of what's been on my heart and things that I know for sure are going to be super helpful for you. So the thing that's really been percolating and coming up in lots of different ways for me is the thing that's really got you struggling, right? The thing that keeps resurfacing and you're having a hard time really putting your finger on what it is. You know it's there, but at the same time you're like, I just can't put my finger on it. There's something that doesn't feel right. I keep trying to do the right thing. I keep trying to make the changes I really want to make. And yet, I keep finding myself not quite being where I want to be. And this is what I want to offer to you. That thing that you keep coming back to, that you keep feeling in your spirit, that you keep encountering as like this invisible barrier that you're trying to get past as you're going about your liberation journey, and as you're desiring to live a bigger and brighter, more colorful life. The thing that I've come to know it as, and since I imagine you're something like me since you're here watching me, it's this thing called self-judgment. And the easiest way that I've come to learn about self-judgment is when I go to make a judgment, right, about someone else, I am revealing to myself that I also hold judgment towards myself. Now, the reason that this gets in the way so much is because when we're desiring relationship with others, which we all want, we come into this place of judgment with them over something that's going on with them, and we then start to have these uncomfortable feelings, right? And we want to express them, or we want things to feel comfortable, and so we start to feel that uncomfortable, and we so want to get back to that state of comfortable because it's what the state that we all desire to live in is comfortable. So the reason that it keeps coming up is because of the way in which you view yourself and the judgments in which you hold about yourself, about the way you're doing life, about the way you're not doing life, about the way you should be doing life, about the way you're spending your money, as you have seen all the posts popping up here about this podcast I just had come out. You're feeling like you're either not making enough money, or you're not spending your money the right way, or you don't have enough money, or you're spending your money in places where you actually don't think you should be. All of those are self-judgments. All of those are literally judgments. Oh, I have new earbuds and one of them is falling out. All of those things are judgments. And they're judgments that you're either having about yourself and or about others. And so part of why that's there, so you understand, like, well, why is that there? And why is that there? And of course, how do I get rid of it? So I'm going to answer those two things. Why is it there? Largely, I would just tell you it's there because it was modeled for you in early childhood and you learned it. Just like you learned most of the things that you do in the core of who you are and the way that you operate, you were modeled it in childhood and you watched it happening around you. All the adults around you were doing the self-judging, right? Oh, I don't like my body, I weigh too much, I look fat, I don't feel comfortable, or oh, I shouldn't be eating that, or I should be exercising more, or oh man, I put in too many hours at work, or one spouse to the other, or one, outside family member to another that says, you work way too much. Why do you work so much? What's wrong with you, right? All of those things are judgments. And so you learned it in childhood, and over that period of time, you just started doing it also yourself. And you started making judgments about yourself, right? And things like as a child, oh, I should or shouldn't be doing this, or oh, I should or shouldn't be feeling this way, or I should or shouldn't be thinking this way. So part of where the judgments are coming from, and the reason that self-judgment exists, is because we have a standard upon which we are deciding to live, right? And we're constantly judging ourselves against that standard. So for me, I grew up in the church. I grew up in a Christian household, and amazing, loving parents. And we had like a set of standards that was really this like holding fast, we'll say, belief system of this is the way it is. And it was communicated certainly to me, and I think just, worldwide, people who are in various types of upbringings that have a very certain way of living. For some, it's referred to as very strict. For others, it's just this very clear, certain way. You develop a sense that there is a right way to live. And of course, don't mistake me. Yes, there are things that are good for you, things that are not good for you, and then things that we've all agreed together are really not good for living in community, right? And then there's like everything else. So when you are raised in a circumstance or in an environment where there's a very clear set of standards that are expected to be kept, and there's not a lot of room for whether or not you agree and or adhere to them, then we develop this sense of what's right, what's wrong, right? And when you're not measuring up to the standard, there's this sensation of, I'm not measuring up. I'm not doing it right. I'm not being good. And so we, over time, unless it's taught to us differently and or we learn it differently, again, for most people that I interact with, and it's hundreds of people, we interpret it as there's a shortcoming with me. And so we then carry that belief along with us. There's something wrong with me. I don't really know what's best for me, right? I need this outside standard to guide me, to tell me what's right, what's wrong, so that I can know who I should be. And so naturally, we create this thing that ends up being judgment. Again, we don't mean to. Certainly the adults in our lives didn't intend for us to pick up self-judgment. And yet, right, the system is just that which cultivates self-judgment. So from there, right, what do we do about this thing of self-judgment, right? And I'm intentionally excited about it because there's an answer. There's a solution. And if you're anything like me, I went through so many years, literally most of my life, not knowing what the problem was. It always felt like nebulous, like it was there, but like I couldn't see it, and I kept running up into it, and I would get so frustrated, right? And again, I was a therapist. I was a professional helper, as I call it, for 20 years before I learned about what this thing was that I kept running into, that kept slowing me down, that would keep me from being who I wanted to be, from feeling like I could be fully expressed, fully out loud. This is what I think. This is what I believe, right? And feel really good about it. I couldn't do that, literally. And so by no means was I quiet about my opinions, right? And the things that I believed. But the thing that happened, because I was in self-judgment about myself, I then would be judging other people. And I wouldn't allow myself to have that freedom to express who I really was. So I would hide parts of myself because I wasn't totally comfortable with parts of myself. And I learned from being around others that parts of me weren't okay. Why? Because they weren't in line with what I had originally been taught to believe. And also just this other sensation, right, which is inherent in all human beings, is we want to fit in. We want to be a part of. And so if you grow up and you have these different opinions, or you have like questions and you're like, oh, I really want to like understand this better, and it's not warmly received to have different thoughts and opinions, which it isn't for most people on the planet, then you stay small and you conform because you want to stay a part of, right? Whether it's the family, it's the larger community, whatever it is, we want to be a part of it. So what do we do about this thing, right? I could talk about self-judgment for days, but let's circle back and I'll close out with what do we do about it? So the thing that I have found to be the most helpful, both for myself personally and for the clients that I work with, and the thing that I just love to talk about with everybody, is learning to be super comfortable with who you are. And the way that I like to talk about it is to honor who you are. To be able to completely transform self-judgment into this beautiful butterfly, right? I love the visual of the caterpillar going through the journey, the transformation journey of figuring out who am I really, and I want to really be me, and all the things, right? Because when we're not over in the butterfly, we're not doing what we're here to do, like what we're here on the planet to do, how we're meant to contribute to the world and to society and to our loved ones. We're not doing it. And we're certainly not doing it to the fullness that we're meant to do it. And so if you're not living into that fullness of your potential, you're more than likely not making the money you want to be making. You're not feeling like you have enough of the money that you want to have. You're also not feeling like confident in who you are and confident in your abilities or confident in your decision making. You're probably having a lot of times of hesitating and feeling unsure of what the right thing is to be doing or the best thing is to be doing. So it also then, of course, makes relationships of all kinds very difficult, especially and primarily the one with yourself. And when we're having that difficult relationship with ourselves, right? And again, this is like over a lifetime, we develop tons of unhealthy habits, like over drinking, overworking, smoking, not taking care of our bodies, letting ourselves go, eating whatever we want to, eating things on the go, and allowing our bodies to pay the consequences. So all of those things transpire as a result of ultimately not feeling comfortable with who you are because you're constantly assessing yourself against this other standard that may or may not really be true or may not really be good for you. So back over here into honor, right? When you start from this place of honoring who you are, it just changes the game completely, right? Because now there's a freedom. There's a freedom and there's an accessibility to discover, to be curious about who you are, about what you're capable of, about what are the desires that were placed on your heart before you were born. What is it that you are meant to do here on the planet for the time that you're here that was, again, placed inside of you before you were born? You have an opportunity to really get curious and to get to know those parts of you really well in a really honest way. Because there's a freedom, there's an openness, there's a, ooh, tell me more about that. You love to sing? What would that be like for you to sing? Where would you want to sing? Right? And all the things related. Or, ooh, you really love to throw big events? Awesome. What would that look like for you? How would you want to do that? You know, where would you want to work from? How would you go about doing it? All the details, right, of whatever it is you're really excited about in life. And there aren't like preset rules about how to go about them. So if your heart is longing to do something that's different from that of your partner, there's again a freedom to go about doing it, right? And to explore and see where it leads you. There's a whole different way of approaching things when you come from a position of honoring who you are, deepening an awareness of who you are, and what you desire to be doing here on the planet, what your soul knows you're meant to be doing in all the areas of your life. Your work, your purpose, how you want to be making money, how you want to do relationships, how you want to be married, how you want to do friendships, all of the things are open for the curiosity and the intrigue and the, ooh, there's limitless possibilities of how you can be in the world. And then you're not constantly checking yourself against an outside standard that tells you whether or not you're right about who you are, right? Again, I'm not talking about like, should you be speeding or not speeding, right? Or like, is it okay to like, rob people? Of course not. Like, no, of course not. I'm not even like addressing that. I'm talking about as it comes down to who you are and what you're meant to be doing in the world, right? And then all of the decisions after that. So for you, moving forward into this weekend, right? Take the time to ask yourself, who am I really? If I weren't worried about whether or not I was doing it right, and I weren't worried about doing it the best way, and I wasn't constantly judging myself against how well I'm doing against the standard that I learned in childhood, and I was just really honest with myself, with my God, about who I am, who am I, right? And I would encourage you, honestly, I think the best way that I've experienced is writing it down. Who am I? And what am I here for? And write it out in the most specific detail that you can. All the things that I just listed off a few minutes ago, all the different areas of your life. What would it look like in the like ideal of the ideals? Because that gives you a frame of reference of who you're meant to be, where your imagination can take you. It is literally the path to knowing you more is the use of your imagination. It literally helps you get to know yourself better by allowing your imagination to do its job. And as you're cultivating that vision of yourself, that awareness of who you are and what you're meant to be doing, allow yourself to respond with curiosity and honor and excitement about all of those things. Okay, so for those of you that are ready to do the deeper work and really get clear about who you are so that you can make the money you want to be making, do the job that you want to be doing, have the body, feel good in your body the way you desire to, and have the relationships in your life so you can feel loved and in relationship with, right? Have the companionship that you desire. I help people do that exact thing in 6 months or less, working with you one-on-one, doing what I call more of this immersive, intensive time together to really get clear on what it is you want, what's keeping you stuck, and then literally creating it to happen. Just like I've done in my life, as many of you have witnessed happen here, and in the lives of several others. So I will drop the link to book a conversation with me so we can talk further in the comments, and you can also just reach out to me over Facebook Messenger and say, hey, I want that. I want that kind of honor in my life. I know I need it. And we'll get started. All right, you guys, as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining. And I want to encourage you in your own liberation journey to go do that thing you most want to be doing. And I'll talk to you soon.